we're so excited for this conversation on BSB podcast. We're going to be talking to Andrew Nicholson and Bianca today about his journey through basketball and how he kind of like manifested his business deals, but also why it's so important for us to have more Black professionals in the sport business space. So let's get into that conversation. But we've read the bios, we know a bit more about you, Andrew, but tell us a bit more about how your journey began. Like, how did we get to this point, and tell us like what kind of like brought everything together for you?
Well, for me, my journey began about 2006, 2007. I remember I went to Phase One basketball camp with, and Steve Nash was one of the guests there. And I remember I seen him on television, and I was like, oh, so cool. Steve Nash is a part of this camp, talking to the kids. And from that point, I went to Father Gates, where I was around a good group of guys in Mississauga. David Tyndall was one of my guys over there. He's my trainer right now while I'm still playing. But going from Father Gates, I was able to be, like I said, surrounded by competitive guys, and it kind of grew on me, and the love for the game started there. And then St. Bonaventure eventually came up. They came from small town New York as a very traditional, rich basketball school.
Yeah.
I remember they came in at 6 a.m. to watch me, and they just loved what they saw. So they eventually gave me a full ride to St. Bonaventure, which I was excited about, more so the education side, and the basketball side was something that was complementary to it. But I remember, I think it was in my third year.
Yeah.
Going into my third year, Coach Schmidt actually sat down with me. He's still there right now.
Okay.
He's doing a phenomenal job, and he said, you're gonna have to be a pro if you really put your mind to it. And after having that conversation, I remember he called my parents. We had a long talk with them too, and I decided to switch majors.
Okay.
And
So what were you doing before?
I was a chemistry major before.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you were smart.
At chemistry.
I didn't say was. So you're
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
You're
He
smart.
is
Okay,
smart.
so you're
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
Yes,
Smart.
yes.
Yeah.
He is smart.
At chemistry, yeah.
And then she's over to?
Physics. So switch to physics.
Oh,
yeah.
so we're still in the science realm.
Still,
Okay,
I've
gotcha.
always been a huge science head. Like, it's
Okay.
something I'm always good at. I'll do great in a science class. Something I love to do. But chemistry was very demanding because I had 3 labs a week, and physics was only 1 lab a week. So a little less on the load.
Yeah.
And I was able to do summer classes as well too,
Okay.
which kind of lightened the load during the semester. So after having that conversation, I stayed extra time in the summer times. I put in all the hours during the season as well too.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be drafted 19th to Orlando Magic.
Amazing.
My hard work did pay off. A lot of discipline in the hours. 'Cause it's not easy balancing NCAA and science. You know what I mean?
No,
There's a lot of
it's
time
not.
management,
It's
a lot
not.
of discipline. But I had a good group of teachers who actually helped and supported me as well too. And my teammates, my coaches, they all understood the load I was going through, but they saw the work that I was putting in.
And they kind of saw the end result too, so they were able to support you on that journey. as well,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions. Was it always basketball, or were there other sports in the mix for you, like when you started doing sport?
My dad, he always wanted me to do baseball. So
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
money in baseball.
I know. So I played baseball for 7 years actually
Really? What
before I started
position?
basketball. I was a pitcher and first base primarily.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I have the length, so I was
Yeah.
naturally a good
So you
first
can run?
baseman. Run? I mean, a couple steps to each base, you know?
Okay,
My
start
strides
there.
are pretty big, but it was pretty hard to overthrow me, so I was mostly in the first base position. But
Okay, and then baseball was a thing as well, and then you transitioned into basketball. But when did you realize that, you know what, let me just look into doing this thing like at a college level? Because a lot of students actually, they're from Canada, but they kind of get stuck,
Yep.
and they kind of realize that, you know what, I probably want to pursue this, but I'm better off staying here. Would you recommend leaving and going to the U.S. for that experience, or it depends on the student, but how was your experience leaving here and going to the States as a student athlete?
For basketball, well,
Yeah.
I saw the opportunity because up here, I did want to stay up here and play basketball in the Ontario League. I was actually this close to going to York. I'm not gonna lie, I was this close. I was this close, but I saw a better opportunity to stay a 5th year. I graduated in 4 years, but I stayed a 5th year to basically get better at the sport, because I saw I was able to get a full ride as opposed to actually paying for college up here.
Yeah, I'm a scholarship athlete too, so totally understand the dynamics in terms of like, okay, cool, you're a student and then you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Balancing that, any advice for people who are like, I want to be a student athlete, the balance part of it, what worked well for you?
You got to prioritize. A lot of prioritizing, a lot of discipline, because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the phrase student athlete, you're a student first, you're an athlete after. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of your academics first,
Mm-hmm.
which will enable you to have more freedom and success to work on your sport. Because if
Right.
you're really good at sports, but you're not doing well in the classroom,
That's a
there's
whole problem.
yeah, there's a lot of penalties. They'll either say you can't play or coach will be mad at you and all that stuff. You don't want to go through that. So I always prioritize my academics first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I worked on my game kind of after. And because of the workload that I had, like I said earlier before,
Yeah.
I did a lot of summer school. Every session I was there, from May, June, and July, and then probably half of August. That's all we had. So I'd
Okay.
literally come home for like 2 weeks.
I was going to say, so you basically didn't live here. You're like
I
full
was there. I
time
was at Bonaventure the
the whole
whole.
time.
Yes, I was there a very long
Okay.
time. Yeah, yeah.
And Bonaventure is NCAA. What division is it?
Division One.
D1, right?
Yeah.
For people who don't know, which is awesome. I went D2 because I can't take the stress of D1
Mm.
because that's very, very demanding. But
Yeah.
you got your degree, you
Yep.
finished,
Yep.
and now you have those tools in your toolkit, right? But you decided to go pro.
Mhm.
What was that process like for you in terms of like, okay, my coach thinks I can do it, my parents are on board, now we're gonna do this? Was it super intimidating, the whole idea of like being a part of the draft and figuring out what the next step looked like?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't go the prep school route. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go the high level AAU route. I went to Father Gates in Mississauga. I went
Right.
to a small D1 school in the U.S. So
Mm-hmm.
I already knew that I was already an underdog in that aspect. So the chip that I had on my shoulder was, you know, no one's going to really get me handouts. I have to actually go out and earn it. So all those hours that I put in, working on my touch, working on my moves, really paid off for me when I went into the pre-draft process.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so new for me because I was seeing a lot of guys who I would see on TV.
Yeah.
I remember going to the Miami workout. I'd see LeBron there. I'd
Mm-hmm.
go to another team, see another superstar, and it's like, wow, I'm actually, like I'm really here. So now it's time to, it's time to get to it. Time to get to it. Put the nerves behind you and just do all that you can do to help yourself become successful. Because when preparation meets opportunity, that's when you have success.
So true. So would you consider yourself successful in that sense? In the sense where, yep, I got to draft, I got to Atlanta Magic. Have you considered yourself successful at that point? You're like, okay, cool. I'm on to this next step. Am I here? Am I good? Or was there more that you wanted to achieve in that time?
There's always more. There's always more. I'm
Never
never, I'm
satisfied.
never satisfied. There's always more. So I always did the best that I could to get to the next step, the next level, whether it was maintaining my body, maintaining my game, maintaining what I do on and off the court.
Okay. And that's awesome because a lot of people don't really realize all the different components that go into that. So it takes a village. You mentioned before you had the support from your students, your teachers, your coaches, your family, just to get there. When did you yourself, because they knew it before you did, but when did you realize that, wait a minute, I'm coming from Father Gates, I'm going to State Bonaventure, but I'm leading myself to the draft? When was that moment that it kind of clicked to you that, oh my gosh, this can actually happen?
I would say towards the end of my third year, I could have came out my third year. I know they were projecting me probably late second round, but
Mm,
I told myself, education was always something I would have forever. So if I did 3 years, might as well finish off the last year,
mm-hmm.
get better, get a degree, and see where I can go. Unfortunately enough for me, all the preparation that I did, I had 4 years to prepare for that,
Okay,
got me to get drafted to the Orlando Magic in the first round.
awesome. And it's cool because a lot of people don't really realize this, but when you get there and you're doing all these things, it's just a seat in yourself and you see that moment, you feel a level of pride. You feel a level of accomplishment that comes with that.
Absolutely.
And getting to that moment is also not for you, but for other people.
Yeah.
Just so you can be an example to be like, okay, you don't have to necessarily come from a prep school and the process that people are familiar with to be successful and to see that success.
Yeah.
So it's super duper important. I want to ask you about the biggest challenges you faced during that time frame. When you get to the point where you're like, okay, we're doing this, everybody's on board, and we're now in this draft process. We're at the Magic. What are the two like biggest challenges you faced, and how did you manage to kind of turn those?
Well, like I said, I was always an underdog. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really, like I didn't have that high level name that a lot of these guys did from the high level school. So I had to actually go in and prove myself. So a big challenge for me was also getting used to the lifestyle, is getting
Mm.
used to the length of the season, because in
Okay.
college you're usually playing like 30 some games, and
Yeah,
you go to an 82 game season. So
that's a shift.
it's a lot.
It's
You
like,
know,
just
it's a
double up your
lot.
stuff. No
Yeah,
big deal.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned to help overcome that was just to, stay in my lane, focus on me, work on myself, and work on the skills that I could have to help the team be successful in any way possible.
Yeah.
And also treating basketball not just as a job and a sport, but as a lifestyle. So how
Okay.
I ate
Yeah.
was always basketball was in mind. Who I was around, basketball was around. How I slept, taking care of myself was always geared towards basketball at the end of the day.
It's funny because the reason why I stopped running track was because of that.
Right.
Yeah, like I was over track telling me what to do.
Right.
It told you what to eat, it told you when to eat, what to wear, who you're around, and you're like, can I just be a whole normal human being for like 5 minutes
Yeah.
instead of having the sport consume you? But people don't know that. And people don't know that when you're committed to the sports and you're committed to these like different ventures, it consumes you.
Well,
And it's all encompassing of your whole entire life.
it's a marriage.
Yeah.
It is.
Sometimes healthy, sometimes not so healthy. But
Yeah.
yes, it's a marriage nonetheless. And people, I'm happy you said that because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't really understand the inner workings of that.
Right.
And it's super duper important. What did those lessons teach you about yourself?
It taught me that I am disciplined, and I had a lot of help from going to St. Bonaventure, having 4 years of doing that, because I would literally Bonaventure, amazing people, amazing
Yeah.
school, super small. There was no
I love
distractions,
a
so
small school.
it's super small town. So I didn't have like a lot of nightclubs to go to. I didn't have a lot of partying to go to. It was just me and the court and the classroom, which was very, very good. So
Awesome.
being able to bounce that and transition it to the NBA, I knew that I couldn't be going out and doing all this stuff. I had to take care of my body. I had to take care of my rest, my recovery,
Right.
maintain that so I could get the best that I could out of myself.
So that kind of set pace for you.
I
So,
think it did.
Yeah, so
in a
you're
sense,
like,
yeah.
no, but my mom, when they dropped me off at school in the middle of nowhere, they were very excited because there's no distractions for me because they know
Yeah.
I needed no distractions because I'd be up in the club all the time.
She came to Bonnie's, man.
They came, I should have, but I was on the other side in the middle of nowhere having the same struggles watching like sunflowers in the fields. But totally understand that discipline. My friend sent me a clip from Venus Williams this week and he was talking about in order for you to get what you want, you have to be disciplined.
Yes.
And discipline unlocks keys to be able to like give you all the freedom you want. As long as you're dedicated to what you see and your vision and you commit to it, it unlocks other doors. What other doors has basketball unlocked for you?
Oh man, it's unlocked a lot of doors for me. It's enabled me to become a businessman that I am now. It's enabled me to see parts of the world that I've never ever thought I would ever see or even be in.
Yeah.
And it's enabled me to take care of my friends and family, which has been
A big deal.
big deal.
Because a lot of people don't get that opportunity.
Right.
Playing overseas, I've never done it. I've only been out of the country in North America, but I have the fundamentals of life.
Yeah.
Playing overseas, how is that mentally for you? Because you're there on your own. Nobody's coming to your home games to rah you. You're kind of used to that kind of camaraderie and that family being there.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Playing overseas, I'll be honest with you, it was tough the first month and a half that I was there, but I had to come out of my shell and start to embrace where I was.
Okay.
So, like going over there, like I played in China. I played in there. I've been in Asia for the last 6-7 years, and it's a complete 180 from how we are over here in the West.
Right.
So I had to either A, just pack up my stuff and say I don't want to do it, or B, I had to just okay, let me take a step back, take a deep breath, and let me embrace why I'm here.
Correct.
Because everyone else seemed happy, so why couldn't I be happy? So I started to go hang out with my teammates, started to learn the language, started to try the
You
food.
speak Mandarin?
I picked up a little
Hold on
Mandarin
now.
just to get around.
This chemistry dude speaks Mandarin?
Not fluently though.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll take the 1-2 words. You speak
Yeah.
Mandarin.
Yeah.
We'll speak Mandarin.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
But
all right.
being able to embrace that, I started to enjoy the stuff over there. I started to enjoy like certain delicacies over there that I would like to eat. Enjoy hanging out with my teammates, seeing their perspective, how they
Yeah.
are on and off the court. And I'm there for like 7-8 months out of the year, right? So
That's a while.
yeah. So the first few years was tough, but as I started embracing it, it became easy.
Like Bianca loves to say being present. How has being present in these moments? So I know a lot of people are always like on to the next, on to the next. How has being present helped you appreciate where you are?
You got to just absorb what you have around you at that time. 'Cause you never know, future's not promised, right? And the past is just a void check, an expired check. So being present is something that you need to do if you want to get the best of the situation that you're in, from my opinion.
Your humble opinion.
Yeah.
In your humble opinion, it's important because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, I'm very guilty of this. I do not take the time to actually appreciate where I've come from and more focus on where is next.
Where's next? Yeah.
And I want to ask you about Nicholson Org. Did you always have that vision in your mind, or was it something that you felt you needed to do based on who you are and where you've come from, and wanting to do more for other people, or is it like a next step in your succession here?
Yeah, I mean, so the Nicholson organization, it's the father company of all my entities that I have right now. So a lot of my businesses are all derived through my passions of what I like to do, what I like to experience. I have a few restaurants in there. I
Okay.
have my facility called the Rec 44. It's a basketball facility. My nonprofit, my real estate, which is in North America and Asia.
Yeah.
So that kind of governs all of that.
That goes around.
Yeah.
Why business?
Why business? Why did I go into business? Well, I started
you could have just hung out in China and just buy a little house and chill out. Like you didn't have to come back and do all of this. So
Yeah.
I'm just super curious what motivated you to get involved.
Well, for me, I had to financially teach myself how to, get the best of the money that I've been making. So I've been investing since 2014, which is like
Okay.
my second year in the league, but I've only been in like stocks and stuff. I wanted to start to transition into hard assets and passions that I was really getting into. Like, for instance, the restaurant stuff.
Yeah.
We have Crumble that just came here in Mississauga.
'Cause you like to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
I know
So
that.
this is a venture that I partnered with. I know, right?
I know. It's okay.
I do like to eat.
I know. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Evidence.
So this is a venture that I partnered with my old teammate Tobias and his friend Charles, and we were starting to bring Crumble to Canada. So this is going to be 3 that we're going to be bringing in Ontario, and it's going to be amazing. It's been great so far. The one at
First of
Heartline
all,
has been
I'm very
fantastic.
appreciative of Crumble
Oh, thank you.
because I love me a cookie boy.
Yeah,
And I will never say no to a cookie, so I appreciate you doing this for everybody else.
absolutely.
Look at you giving
the
back.
least I can do.
And it's appreciated.
Yeah.
Why Crumble though?
Crumble.
Yeah.
Well, I know Tobias has a couple already.
Okay.
And we've had conversations together, and being from Mississauga, I was like, wouldn't it be a bad idea to bring that establishment up here? And
Cookies don't hurt nobody.
I know, right? And, us Canadians, we love our desserts. So it's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Amazing. So you have 44 Hoops. Tell us a little bit more about that and kind of what the whole idea behind 44 Hoops is.
So 44 Hoops was started about 9 years ago, and it was my way of giving back to the community. I wanted to give the youth in our community the outlet to become student athletes. I want them to experience the student athlete. So essentially, we embody the student athlete experience,
Gotcha.
kind of like how I did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know a lot of the youth these days, not everyone's going to go to Duke. Not everyone's going to go to these high-level schools.
And there's so many other options, They need to know about that.
There is, exactly.
Yeah.
So the route that I took, I want them to know that, I was in the position that you were. And you're able to become successful through that path as well, too. So with 44 Hoops, I want to make sure that they also embody that the discipline you put on that you put towards getting better on the court, you just translate that to do it in the classroom as well too. So as bad as you want your jump shot and your handles to be good, you should want to get your marks up and your math, your history, and all that, because they go together.
They work together.
They work together very well. I want
they
them
have good results.
They do, because I want them to use basketball to get where they want to be in life, and not have basketball use them. Because basketball, it'll chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful.
Yeah.
But if you are disciplined and you care about where you want to go, you can use that sport to get you where you need to go.
And I love that because for me, sport was always a vehicle that changed my life, essentially. If it wasn't for sport, I don't think I'd know who I was. It gave me the chance to identify my strengths, my weaknesses, how to work on them, how to be a better person, how to lead. It gave me all these character building tools. And more than anything else, one of the reasons why I go so hard for sport is because I wanted to do that for other people. I want it to be a tool for other people to be able to say, hey, I can be XYZ. My potential is limitless. And sport kind of gave me as a gift. And I love when you said that, because now you're extending your gift that sport gave you to somebody else as a kickback.
Exactly. I want them to know that, it's possible. Use the sport to get where you need to go.
Use the sport. Don't let the sport use you.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
all have stories
Heard that
about
before a few times.
Yeah.
how that can go.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to Bianca now. Andrew has this amazing journey. He's up here speaking Mandarin and eating chicken in China and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're his CEO of his business entity.
Yes.
Why was it important for you to have a woman of color here?
I think it's very important to have a woman of color as my CEO because it shows that there is opportunity for people who are in her position. She's done a great job. She's known me forever. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah. She's
Here's
known
my
me.
age.
She's known me since I was very, very young, and I trust her.
Right.
I trust her with her business sense. I trust her with her having my best interest, and I trust her with managing all my entities because I'm still playing. I'm still an active player. So while I'm over there, I need someone who's going to be holding the fort down, running the businesses, and making sure it's up to where the standards it needs to be. And she's been in business for a very long time, so she has a perfect candidate to actually do that.
Very long time.
Well, let me talk to the perfect candidate.
Yeah.
So, Bianca,
Yes.
why did you want to support Andrew and his initiatives?
Well, I feel you should ask me that question before you talk to him because he answers so many of what I wanted to say. I've been fortunate to know Andrew before he got drafted to the NBA courts. Andrew is committed to sharing his student-athlete journey, and so much of what he talks about resonates with me.
Okay.
His love for giving back, the community, the youth, and creating opportunities. This is it right here.
Yeah,
That's
because he's
everything.
giving you an opportunity,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And there's not a room we go in that he doesn't let anybody know, this is my second in command. And sometimes he'll say, talk to her. Don't even talk to me. And that's huge.
And you know why that's so huge too, Bianca? Because as women in these spaces that are predominantly male, we don't often get the respect that we need, and we need cosigns from men. And Andrew is doing a fantastic job of making sure that people know, listen,
Yes.
don't need to undermine her because she's me, I'm her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think a lot of men understand the role they play in garnering that respect for women and the role that they have to play in terms of like sponsoring women in that regard. So I'm
100%.
happy you said that.
100%. I've been in corporate since '96, and I have to give Andrew his flowers. He makes
Chrysanthemums.
whatever flowers he wants, that he lets everybody know. Like we had a moment after the long weekend, and I asked him what was the best moment for him. And I'm going to share this. Maybe he might get mad at me after. But his best moment from what was an incredible work weekend, he said, every time I introduced you as my CEO. And that,
pride.
that was everything. It really was. Because he does it. It's not words, it's actions.
And that's important.
And that is huge. There's nothing he says that he doesn't back up. And as this kind of partnership with what he's doing, not only here in Canada, in North America, and as he mentioned, Asia, this matters.
It does. And it makes sense now that he's shared a bit more of his background. The discipline he's had in his life kind of carries all the way through to when he does certain things. And that's super important. The discipline he garnered from play ball, knowing his potential, understanding what he can do, is now leveraging to you. And he's now empowering you with that, which is amazing. What do you want other women of color to know about working on the business side of sport? Because let me tell you something. You know, I've been here for a hot minute. I've been working in sport now for over 12 years. And there are not very many women who get opportunities to excel and to grow. What piece of advice do you have for them? Like, now that you're in this position, kicking butt, doing your thing, how do you want to encourage women to do more of it?
Great question.
Anytime. I'm really good at
I've kicked
questions.
a few butts. Andrew could be my co-sign on that. Again, being in corporate, and I've gone through my own struggles, entering this space, I thought it was going to be 10 times worse. I did.
Yeah.
This is sport. It's not something I come from. Been corporate in many different, two different sectors, mainly in my career since '96. And I have to say, it's actually been the most welcoming space.
Okay.
There's not a boardroom or a room I've been in where the majority of it was in support. And a lot of that has to be accredited to Andrew too, because when we walk in a room, he barely shakes hands and says, I'm Andrew, before he introduces me.
Right.
And that goes a long way. I think us as women in color, we have to share a story, stay authentic. And if I wasn't sharing with Andrew my struggles,
he wouldn't know.
He wouldn't know, and he
Correct.
can't support me in that way.
Yeah, he
So
wouldn't
if
know
we
what the gaps
came into
are.
this and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, Andrew, and I'm not sharing with him, how can he support me? Or how can he give me maybe challenge what I'm thinking?
Right.
And that has been huge for us. Communication, trust, respect, and really just sharing.
One of the hardest things for many women of color is using their voice. Have you been able to use your voice, and how do you feel using it?
So this journey started organically. Andrew and I had a conversation just about, it was one simple thing in May. And like I said earlier, his passion for sharing his journey as a student athlete,
Yeah.
the way that resonated with me, and his love for being an entrepreneur and doing business, that was a slam dunk yes for me.
Okay.
We literally, within minutes, had a conversation, and it was a yes.
Okay.
And I don't think I regret it yet. I don't know if he
Well,
has.
we're gonna check out the episode 4. We're gonna see how that goes.
It's been great. And I think telling your story, and we talk about having voices.
Yeah.
You have a platform. Andrew has a platform. I have a platform. My journey started a little while ago with using my platform to speak more as a senior leader. And now having this opportunity as his CEO.
Yeah.
And being in different spaces, speaking your truth and being the voice for all of those next to us, above us, behind us that don't have a voice or don't know how to use their voice. It's everything. We have to speak up.
We do.
We do.
And I think one of the challenges is getting everybody comfortable or emboldened to speak up, right?
I'm not comfy right now, but I'm speaking.
But you're speaking a lot. You're saying a lot of
speaking.
things and a lot of important things that
Yeah.
people need to hear and understand.
Yeah.
I want to ask an unpopular question.
Okay.
I want to ask, how do you guys navigate? Because I know that we're Canadian-based. If you have U.S. meetings or you have Canadian meetings, is there a difference with how you navigate the spaces on the U.S. side or on the Canadian side? Do you find there's any difference in the sports business space navigating it in any way, shape, or form?
In terms of my business or
In terms of your businesses?
my businesses,
Yeah.
I keep it all the same. It's easier that way. So, like I said, if we have a meeting in the U.S., I still introduce her as my CEO.
Okay.
Everything is still up to the Nicholson organization's protocol, regardless of where we're going to be, Canada, U.S.
So you
North
maintain
America.
that consistency?
I maintain that, absolutely.
Do you find that you see more representation on a U.S. side or versus the Canadian side, or is that something? Because I've been here and I'm
Yeah.
like looking around. There's not a lot of women leadership on this side as much in comparison.
Well, a lot of my most of my entities are on the Canadian side than it is from the U.S. So, about the same thing.
I
do you
might take
think,
that
Dee?
question. I mean, again, in the U.S., I do find that people were more welcoming when he introduced me. I think corporate Canada still has a hard time.
Corporate Canada has a way to go.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I would agree with
accepting
that.
us in spaces, they quicker question what this is about. Where we were just down for summer league, for example,
Right.
and there was nobody he introduced me to that I feel I didn't get that respect right away.
Yeah.
And the
Gotcha.
conversations were intense around business. Here, they're like, "Oh, so
What do
do
you
mean?
do?"
Yeah, what do you mean by CEO?"
Yeah.
And
Explain
that a couple
that
times.
5
or
times.
sometimes they thought
Yeah.
he was using code for something else. I'm like, no, it's CEO. And I shake their hand again and say the acronym out. You know, it's like,
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to be biased, but that's why I said unpopular question.
Yes.
But I wanted to just get your thoughts on that, especially as you navigate the space. So we're gonna do a pivot, all right? Because I like to pivot. No pun intended on the whole basketball thing. I'm trying to be, inclusive. How important is it for you guys to create pathways for black students and black student athletes to be able to access business and access sport?
he looked at me. I don't know who you're talking to, him or me.
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't know.
talking to both of you. The question was actually done for the both of you.
I'm going to jump in first. And I definitely, his story is incredible. For me, I think Andrew's one of the greatest Canadian stories never told. He really is. He embodies what a student athlete represents. And I think with what he started with 44 Hoops really came from heart and soul, kind of like what you did with BSB. It's his experiences, is what he actually went through. He didn't just create something because it looked good, it sounded good, and here's some money, let me put it behind it.
Yeah.
And I think with the opportunities out of 44 Hoops, whether it's education or giving them the opportunity to play sport, which is basketball, and he may expand to do other things later on,
Yeah.
I think that is phenomenal, right? And his focus now, obviously his pillars have evolved.
Yeah. As you grow, you evolve.
I don't know how much we're allowed to share here, but
can
44.
share.
Not too much. You can share. Oh, you can share. We
I
get
can
permission.
share.
All right.
So 44 Hoops has just created an arm called 44 Cares, and that is Andrew dedicating that space to young girls in sport. And
Yep.
I'm not sure if I have full authorization yet to say the little girl who's going to be our first junior ambassador to lead that division. And
Now you
it's-
got my whole attention.
okay, and we can have another show on that one.
We can have a whole other conversation about that.
But
Yes.
I think, again, being a student athlete and having lived that journey and actually done it is why what he's doing with 44 Hoops as we come up to our 10th anniversary is going to be so incredible.
So you're almost 10 years old. I didn't know that.
Next year will
Yeah,
be
you
our
said
10-year
9.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Yes.
9 and 1 is 10.
Yes.
Last time I checked.
Yes.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, you
you're
can
good
attend
at-
one of our camps.
I can come anytime. I want to be a student athlete all over again.
Yeah.
But how important is it for you, Andrew, to be able to give back and create pathways for other people that look like you in the space to have access to sport and have access to understand that they can grow in business as well?
Honestly, it's an amazing feeling because, as she said, I've been through it, and I want to give them the outlet and the opportunity to actually take the same path, or an even better path, to get to where they need to go. And it's not just something that I just pulled out of the air. It's something that I've actually been through.
Yeah.
I've been through. I've lived it. So I'm such a great feeling of being able to give them this opportunity.
You know what I love the most about this is I feel like a lot of people hear the LeBron stories. A lot of people hear the stories about Andrew Wiggins. But this story, Andrew, I love it because it's you and it's authentically you.
Yeah.
Like you have been able to create something not only for yourself but for other people out of sheer determination.
Yeah.
Right? And having people understand that, hey, I might not be the top thing or the top draft,
Yeah.
but you can also do awesome things by just
Absolutely.
believing in yourself and being completely dedicated to something
Yep.
is super, super cool.
And 100% authentic in what
yes.
he's doing,
Yes.
right? And like I said, I really believe Andrew is one of the greatest stories just never told.
Never told.
And in Canada, we're not good at doing that.
We're getting better at storytelling. And, I have to say stuff like that. But I find that telling the stories that impact a certain community
Yeah.
is something that we're not doing well all the time. So this is why I'm so excited to have you guys here, have these conversations so other people have access to their realities and know that, you know what, I might not be, look at me, for example. I'm not Shelley Ann Fraser Price. Let's keep it 100. But I was able to parlay that experience into something awesome and then leverage that into giving other people opportunities, right?
Definitely.
You don't have to always be the best to do the best things.
Right.
And that's what I love about that. I'm going to ask you guys another question because this is a BSB related question, but why do you think it's necessary to be Black in sport business?
I think it's very necessary, and just to highlight the stuff that you guys are doing at BSB, I love the fact that you are able to connect young Black professionals together so we can network, make connections, and elevate each other in the world of business. That's something I'm very very happy that you guys are doing that. Whatever I can do to help to be a part of that, you got me.
Thank you. It's important. We never had that before. We never knew where each other were, and I think building a community is something that we're not good at sometimes because we're a little busy competing with each other or seeing what everybody else is doing and not focused on what we have to do. So I appreciate what you guys are doing at building the 44 Hoops community and creating that space for young people, but also reaching back and supporting other groups because that's also super important. So the support you give me is amazing, and I want to just say out loud how much I'm grateful for that. How do people support you guys? Like, what do people have to do to be like, I want to support Nicholson Org or 44 Hoops? Like, what does this look like?
44 Hoops, I mean, get on the website, get involved. You can sign up as a volunteer. They definitely could come out to any of the give backs we have, any of the programs that we have. Andrew does clinics. And if they want to be part of the Nicholson Org, as Andrew continues to build, there'll be opportunities that will be posted, and they definitely can apply.
So let us know your sites, your pages. I know because, I know. But for
You
people
don't
who
know all of them yet.
Yeah.
I thought I knew.
More to come.
More to come.
But more to come, and that's exciting because there's so much more to grow in this space. But when
Yeah.
people want to touch base with you, Instagram, like what's the handles?
44 Hoops.
44 Hoops?
44 Hoops org.
Oh,
4-4.
44.
4-4.
44.
I love that. Amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank
No
you for an
problem.
honest, open conversation. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else comes from this whole entire venture. And congrats, by the way.
Absolutely. Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you
much
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
This is great.
Anytime.
I mean, I was there when you started this journey with BSB, and you deserve your flowers too, because it's spaces like this that we get to use our voices. And I saw something just a few days ago. Coach Pop is not the only one who's leading the way. Andrew Nicholson's leading the way too, with what
Amazing.
he's doing by doing this. Because having a woman of color sit as his CEO and second in command is huge.
Revolutionary, especially in the
Yes.
Canadian market. Like, just
It's
want to say
huge.
that out loud.
Yeah.
We need
It's
to say it out
We
loud.
need to say it out loud.
We
It's
need to
not,
say it
it's
out
not
loud.
a regular everyday thing.
So this is for
So,
Andrew Nicholson.
100%.
Oh,
he
thank you,
gets,
guys.
He gets claps.
Hey,
Claps
He
for
does.
everybody. I love
Yes.
that. And looking forward to the next, what's coming next. And, I'll be in the mix in all capacities.
And we
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Always. Always.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on BSB Podcast. So excited to have a conversation with Andrew and Bianca about 44 Hoops and Andrew's awesome journey in basketball. See you on the next one. Catch you.